Hey everybody, welcome back to Double D Vintage Baseball Cards. My name is Dylan. If you've never watched my channel, I've been collecting baseball cards my whole life. Since I remember life itself beginning, literally, I've been collecting cards that long. Collecting graded cards, graded vintage baseball cards since 1996, 7, 8, 9. In that zone, I went huge in the early 2000s, like 99, 2000 to 2001. I had a full-time job right out of high school. I graduated in 99. I was buying up giant cards and buying PSA 7s, PSA 8s, PSA 8 OCs. There wasn't a big price gap. So this video is a VR / my thoughts. My buddy John Mangini won Hobby President. And, you know, it's not like it comes with a lot of power, but it comes with a lot. To me, it's really meaningful. And the only guy I can really think of that really truly, I mean, I guess there's other guys, but John Mangini is the absolute perfect fit for a Hobby President. He puts his opinions out there, and I'm going to share mine. And he wants to know what we would change in the hobby. I'm going to share my 1960 Topps album as well in this video. And what I wanted to talk about was what I would change about the hobby. Now, there's not much I would change. And things that I would change has nothing to do with Fanatics and how much they're printing. My honest opinion on that is print away. I could care less. The market's going to figure it out. The whole price of boxes, like, if you're still opening boxes, spending all that money, then you're going to learn. I'm not the guy, I really don't care. Like, breakers, people who buy with breakers and do all that, like, the market's going to figure out the issue. And I do not think the crash in baseball cards has anything to do with how much they're printing. I think a crash happens just like everything in the stock market, in the housing market, in gold. Crashes happen for any number of reasons, but it all ends up being an economic reason. The market's smarter than what we think as far as the collectors. Like, I remember Topps printed a set from 2008. I think it was Topps Moments and Milestones. Every card was serial numbered. It was the worst set ever made. And the one-of-ones in there are worth like $10 today. I'm not worried about how many one-of-ones they print and how many parallels they print. The market knows, the collectors are smart enough to know to give the premium on the golds, to give the premiums on the certain refractors that have been around forever. The market figures it out for itself. And the one-of-ones, like the Wemby, like building a box of all Wemby cards, obviously those are not going to hold the value that, you know, would never buy those in a million years, but that's for the market to figure out. And they'll figure it out quick. Like a still 101 Super Refractor from Topps Chrome is going to be the highest sought after card of the year, you know, or the Bowman Chromes. Like, it's obvious. I don't care how much they print. That's not what this video is about. That is not where I'm going to take this video. What I want to share is my experience collecting vintage baseball cards. If I could change anything in this hobby, it's changing the way we look at PSA and SGC and graded cards, the number on the slab. I, for one, think it's absolutely absurd. And it wasn't always like this. If you rewind 6 years, you could buy, say, a Robin Yount rookie card in a PSA 7, say it was $50, and then an 8 was, say, $100, and then a 9, say, was $250, and then a 10, who cares about the 10? If you want to collect 10s of, you know, then you're a millionaire, and you're not looking at the cards the way I'm looking at cards. Like, you have all the money in the world, so who cares? You could buy blind. That's fine. Now, you go from a PSA 7 Robin Yount, $100, PSA 8, $250. That's still kind of reasonable. It's kind of a big jump. PSA 9, probably $2,000. Absurd. Absolutely ridiculous. Makes no sense. And that only happened in the last 5 or 6 years. So for me, the number one shoe that's going to fall in this market is the high grade vintage. The pop reports There's millions of these Topps cards created. The pop report to me, it absolutely means nothing. If you want to be the one guy holding the bag on the PSA 10s and sell it to your buddy who also has that much money, that's fine. That's not the market I play in. I'm a collector. I want to get the most bang for my buck. I want my collection to be worth the most in the future on the money that I spent. So when I look at my collection, what I've done over the last 3 years, and if you followed me along, you've seen it. I used to buy PSA 7s because they look packed fresh. I sent one card in, a Bob Gibson 63 Fleer, back when I was a kid. I guess I wasn't a kid. I was 17 years old, probably 1997 to PSA. Came back a 7. I had that card since I was a kid. And I go, that looks like a packed fresh card. It was off-centered, but it was beautiful. And I go, okay, I'm going to buy PSA 7s. So I bought a bunch of PSA 7s. And back then, it was all about corners and how sharp you could pick your teeth with the corners. But I have learned since YouTube, a card looks better centered. Great image is the most important, of course. But centering makes or breaks a baseball card for the look, in my opinion. When you have a grip of centered cards together, there's just nothing like it. And so what I've done over the last, 3 years is sold off all those higher grade cards that took off in value and traded them for better looking examples in any grade except for the high grades, because those prices just went crazy bonkers. Why? Honestly, I have no idea. There's no the scarcity to them is it's a scarcity. It's an imaginary scarcity. PSA 10 on a Rickey Henderson looks exactly like a PSA 9 Rickey Henderson and a PSA 8 Rickey Henderson. Like, for me, in that situation, the best bang for your buck would be the 8, because it's $200 versus whatever, $100,000 or $2,000 for a 9. The jump from an 8 to a 9 to a 10 has gotten out of control. I would change that in the hobby. I have totally pumped these things, telling you guys for the last 3 years what I've been doing, selling my off-centered stuff, selling the stuff that just doesn't hit the eye like a nice, well-centered card does. And I want to keep sharing that. And I'm not trying to poo-poo guys that are collecting high-grade stuff, but the high-grade stuff is absurd. It doesn't even make sense why it's that much. The cards themselves aren't rare. Do you really need a copy of a card that looks like it doesn't even make sense to spend that kind of money? My channel and what I want to share is the fact that I think, and the proof has been coming out lately, this last year, everyone thinks vintage cards have been coming down in price. Well, the cards I've been buying over the last 3 years, they haven't come down in price. In fact, the ones that I own, the centered ones, I feel like they have been raising, the cream is rising to the top. They're still way cheaper than buying high grades. A really good looking 4 or 5 in, say, a Mickey Mantle 1960 Topps card, if you pay a premium for that card in the grade, you're still getting a great deal, in my opinion, because you're not paying 7s and 8s and 9 prices. You're still paying a premium. Say you're paying $700 for that 5 versus a couple $1,000s for a higher grade and beyond for a better looking copy. If we use our own eyes, that's the whole point of this video. Let's use our eyes to look at the baseball cards, not the number on the slab. Now, I am a fan of the number on the slab. I slab my own cards. I like the number. It gives you a reference point. That's how I began collecting the graded stuff. It's the great equalizer. Buying graded cards changed the game for everyone. It made it fair for all of us collectors to not go get ripped off by the local card shop or wherever you go. You could be a kid and buy vintage now and be confident that the card is real, and you can choose with your eyes what copy to go for. And I think the greatest deal in the hobby today is buying the lower grade cards in the best eye appeal you could possibly find. The rarity in Topps is centering. And that's what I would change in the hobby. Stop looking at the number. It is absolutely getting out of control. Modern, same thing. 10s to 9s. It's absolutely crazy sauce. It baffles my brain, but it's giving me great deals on the lower graded stuff. People are catching on. It's really hard to find a centered Topps card vintage. So that's what I want to pump up. That's what I would change in the hobby. I would change the fact that